Call this meeting of the Brooklyn City Council to order. Mary Jo, could you please call the roll?
Ron Van Kirk.
Here.
Tony DeMarco.
Here. Debbie
Tomusco.
Here.
Kathy Pucci.
Here.
Mary Belbeer.
Here.
Kevin Tansky.
Here.
Barb Politsky.
Here.
Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First off, we need to approve some minutes from our organizational meeting on January 4th. I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
To approve, Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusco.
Abstain.
Kathy Pucci.
I'm going to abstain only because I was sick and did not get a chance to read them.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politsky.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to start off tonight's council meeting with a couple of proclamations by the mayor.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're going to honor two of our police officers for their exceptional work. I think it's important that we as a community recognize our great employees and all the terrific things they do. And so first, I'm going to invite our Sergeant, Cindy Eschweiler, to come up and her family. So, Chief Melky, if you can join us. So Sergeant Eschweiler already received a commendation from the chief, but I'm going to read, and this is an echo of what he has to say. It's to honor and recognize Sergeant Cindy Eschweiler for her outstanding and exceptional effort negotiating a domestic disturbance situation. Whereas on January 2nd, 2016, the Brooklyn Police Department received a report from a female resident that her husband fired gunshots at her and her 13-year-old daughter during an argument. The victims were able to escape the home, and the City of Brooklyn officers responded immediately. Whereas an armed man refused to exit his home and surrender, Commanding Officer Sergeant Cindy Eschweiler took control of the scene, having Brooklyn officers secure the perimeter, interview the victims, notify and evacuate the neighbors, and call for mutual aid from Parma and Parma Heights Police Departments and Southwest Enforcement Bureau. Whereas Sergeant Eschweiler and her experience as a hostage negotiator and reached out and established a connection using his wife's cell phone with the man inside the home, maintaining an ongoing conversations for nearly 3 hours. Sergeant Eschweiler remained professional, calm, and cooperative throughout her conversations with the subject and encouraged him to resolve the incident peacefully. Whereas Sergeant Eschweiler maintained command of the Brooklyn officers, negotiated with the subject, and consistently communicated with police chief and representatives from Parma, Parma Heights, and the command officers with SEB. Whereas after the communications with the subject ceased, SEB tactical officers introduced a chemical agent into the home, and the subject surrendered at his front door, and he was taken into custody and charged with multiple felonies. Whereas the incident was resolved peacefully and without further violence. Whereas Chief Scott Melky presented Sergeant Eschweiler a letter of commendation for distinguished service to the Brooklyn community for upholding the highest traditions of professional law enforcement. Now, therefore, I make Mayor Catherine Ann Gallagher, on behalf of the City of Brooklyn Council and the citizens of the City of Brooklyn, do hereby extend our sincere congratulations to Sergeant Cindy Eschweiler on her superior leadership and negotiating skills during a domestic disturbance situation. Thank you for being a stellar example of law enforcement officer in the City of Brooklyn. You certainly are to be commended. If everyone can give me a... And thank you guys for all coming up here. That means a lot, I think, to support your colleagues.
If you don't mind,
Oh, sure.
I don't want to take everybody's time too long, but I just wanted to say that I do really appreciate the fact that you guys have recognized me, both the members of council, you, Mayor, and Chief Melky. I've already expressed this once before. It really is humbling to be in this position because this is what I do for my job. I don't expect this, and I certainly sincerely appreciate it. But I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that it was not just me who brought this to a peaceful resolution. It was the members of my shift that quickly, without hesitation, responded to that call for shots fired, which is something that, many of us hear that and we would think we're running the other way, but these guys all ran straight for it and made sure that safety of the victims and the residents were of the first most concern. So Patrolman Afteam was one of the responding officers. He happens to be here tonight. Patrolman Basoda, Patrolman Phillips, and Patrolman Gager were all members that I certainly could not mention tonight. So thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
My second proclamation tonight is for Sergeant Joe Tenenfeld. He cannot be here tonight, but we did want to recognize and award him for his exceptional efforts in the investigation for the missing girl. And I won't go through all the details because this has been in the news a lot. You know all the details, but I did want to recognize him formally at a meeting. Joe Tenenfeld was the person on point in the police department that helped us come to a resolution and find the missing girl. So I wanted to recognize him there. So if you see him, please recognize him for his efforts, okay? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mayor, and indeed, congratulations to Sergeant Esweiler and Sergeant Tenenbaugh for their hard work as with all of our officers, and Chief Melke does a fantastic job as well. And we as the residents of Brooklyn are very grateful for the safety services we have in our city. Council met last Monday night for a special council meeting to fill the vacated council seat left by now Mayor Gallagher. We convened, immediately went into executive session, reconvened and appointed Deb Tomusco as the council person. She will complete the vacated council term, which will end on December 31st, 2017. On behalf of all of council, I'd like to welcome Ms. Tomusco. We're honored to have you with us, and I look forward to working with you on council. I would also like to thank Mr. Mike Changari for applying for this position as well. We appreciate your willingness to serve our city. I would also like to thank Mr. Andy Selhertz for his work on council over the past 2 years. He's worked very hard during his time on council to see numerous improvements to the city of Brooklyn. He worked tirelessly to see our 2015 roads project started and completed months ahead of previous years. He's also worked to get the service department some much-needed equipment to make the lives of all Brooklyn residents better. Thank you, Mr. Selhertz, for your contribution to our city. Not only was Mr. Selhertz a fantastic council person, he is also a tremendous, kind-hearted, and giving person, and your presence on council will be missed. I would also like to welcome, on behalf of council, Mr. Andy Udris to City Hall. He was hired a couple of weeks ago as the new Economic Development Director. He comes to our city highly recommended, and we as a city are very fortunate to have him on board as we enter a very critical time in Brooklyn's economics. So, Mr. Udris, welcome. We're glad you're here. On tonight's agenda, we had two confirmations that were, we have two confirmations on the appointments of Ryan Kelber to the Rec Board and Michelle Rivera to the Civil Service Commission. I'll read those letters as we get to that part of the agenda. Ordinance 2015-72 was held in abeyance last council meeting, and it will remain there. That was authorizing the purchase of a 2017 Freightliner, which is a smaller version of the one-arm garbage trucks that we have now, and that will continue to be held in abeyance until after our budget process is complete. Ordinance 2015-77 is up for a third reading, and that establishes the full-time position of Economic Development Director with the City of Brooklyn, Ohio. Ordinance 2016-1, authorizing the mayor of the City of Brooklyn to enter into a stormwater management program service agreement with the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for implementation of its regional stormwater management program. And I'm sure Mrs. Pucci will give an update on what all that entails in her report for finance. Ordinance 2016-2, authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with the civil and environmental consultants to provide consulting and other services for 2016 for the sanitary landfill in the amount not to exceed $44,350. And again, Mrs. Pucci will discuss this in the finance report. Ordinance 2016-3, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with civil and environmental consultants to provide engineering assistance relating to the sanitary landfill for the estimated cost of $16,267. Ordinance 2016-4, authorizing and approving the emergency repairs and parts for the compost pond pumping lift station at the sanitary landfill from Independence Excavating in the amount of $42,130.48 as specified in their proposal. All three of these items have to do with the landfill, and again, Mrs. Pucci will update you on that in the financial report. At the conclusion of our meeting this evening, we plan to go into executive session to first discuss matters of personnel relating to the law director. The plan is to interview the mayor's choice for that position, reconvene as council, and take a vote on that appointment. At the conclusion of the regular council meeting, we will reconvene as a council for a special meeting to continue our organizational meeting for 2016. We will now proceed with our council meeting. At this time, we will have the public session. If anyone in the audience has anything to say for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name and address, and you will be recognized. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
My name is Bob Hennings. I live at 4643 Winter Lane. I'd like to remind everyone the Athletic Boosters will be having their annual night at the races. Tickets are $25. We'll also have the 50-50 raffle tickets. We'll be raffling off baskets. We also have sideboards. Unfortunately, the sponsorship for all the races have been sold and the horses have been sold. We also will be raffling off a 48-inch Wi-Fi flat screen TV and a Blu-ray player. The food is all home cooked, and we still have plenty of room space in our program. So, council, feel free to take out a thing, and Sokolowski's. I think they would look so good in there too. That, it's be great. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy.
I'm not the only one with the business.
Good evening. My name is Rick Singer. I live at 6211 Delora, and I'm on the school board here. And Mr. Hennings failed to mention that he's one of our newest school board members elected. So, well, it's official now. Our new K through 7 building is now complete, and I want to thank all those here tonight and in the past who've helped make it all happen. The dedication took place this past week on January 19th at our school board meeting, where we had a resolution to thank TDA, our architects, and Icon, our construction managers and construction company. So that everybody knows, those who perhaps have memories of the old Rodone School and Brookridge School, which is pretty much almost down, and the old middle school. The plaques, the bronze plaques from the schools are now located in the foyer of the new middle school, as well as the new plaque. Excuse me. I'd like to extend my congratulations to Mayor Katie Gallagher for her election and wish her the best. Also like to wish all the council members who are re-elected and elected and appointed. Debbie, nice to see you on city council. You're lucky to have her there. She's a mover and shaker. So congratulations on your appointment, Debbie. But I'm also here tonight to tell you how thrilled I am to see Mr. Andy Udris here as our Economic Development Director. I'm not sure how much you know about Andy, but I've known him for 30 years, the good and the bad and the ugly. But when I worked for Mayor Voinovich as a financial administrator, Andy worked in the Economic Development Department. And I got to tell you, Andy was instrumental for making a lot of things happen in Cleveland, Greater Cleveland and downtown Cleveland. And I was just thrilled when I saw that Andy, who I've known for, 30-some years, take this appointment. And I got to say, we're very lucky here in Brooklyn to have Mr. Udris here and his expertise. I could see only growth and a future prosperity for the city of Brooklyn. My appreciation and thanks also goes to all city leaders and for those of you residents who support our city schools and ensuring that our children will have a 21st century learning environment. Please take this time to support our Hurricanes and their sporting events. Folks, I don't know if you've been reading the papers or watching WKYC. Our athletes are fantastic. We've got some great sports programs. Our kids are enthusiastic. We're going to hire a new football coach very soon. And if you get a chance, come down to the either the stadium or come down to the the field house at the school and watch our students excel in sports. So my end of my little report. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Singer.
He said it, so I second the motion. I'm Angrid Georgi, 9508 Bearwald, and I'm coming because of an issue where I thought that many of the voters voted issue 3 off the table because they saw the June or July Time magazine report which said, pot has become easier to study, not a moment too soon. But there's a backdoor, and they're appealing to the good hearts of people saying that it's good for medical purposes. I've heard people like that as well. The market is flooded, the pharmaceutical industry is flooding the market with painkillers. We don't need something that becomes an easy access for children and others, actually. And I wanted to just make you aware that there was a very extensive study in the Journal of the American Medical Association back in June of last year already. And I just would like to read what they consider, aside from not getting off the topic about painkillers. It is not just that the drug is effective in few cases. It does have a pain, they do say that, but it is applicable and effective only in few cases, actually rare cases, was the study found. This is what marijuana does. It causes euphoria, psychosis, impaired memory, cognition, impaired memory and cognition, reduced locomotor function, increased appetite, and then antiemetic, in other words, if you're nauseous, pain relieving, anti-spasticity, and sleep promoting effects. But again, there was further study the journal did, and it proved and showed that it is not an effective painkiller. I just wanted to say this. Anybody can read it yourself. And the library has the Time magazine summation of it. Don't fall for it. I know they spent a lot of money to advertise. It's a profitable industry, but it's at the cost of us and our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We will now move on to reports of committee, commissions, and boards, and tonight we begin the Finance Committee. Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. Good evening. The Finance Committee met earlier this evening. We began our meeting early at 6:15 to accommodate some agenda items that had a lot of background to them. We addressed the following issues. First, Ordinance 2015-77, establishing the full-time position of Economic Development Director with the City of Brooklyn. We recommended to defer this into our budget process. I'm not going to speak for Mr. DeMarco, but I did talk with him and discuss the possibility of addressing this during our budget process that's coming up, and he agreed to do that. So we'll be holding this in abeyance until we get a little bit further in the budget process. Personally, I believe we need more information as to what the expanded duties would be, and I'd also like to hear from the mayor some specific goals and direction that will be set for that particular department, and it's a very important position. Next is ordinance, and from this point forward, we are recommending emergency adoption on all the remaining agenda items. First is ordinance 2016-1, which authorizes authorizes the mayor to enter into the Stormwater Management Program service agreement with the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for implementation of its regional stormwater management program. This is a very, this was a very complicated issue. A number of years ago, the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District imposed a stormwater management fee. It was in the courts for quite a number of years. Our city was a party to the original suit. We were not a party to the appeal. Basically, there's a fee imposed based on the impervious part of each property. There are incentives for property owners to reduce the impervious parts of their property. I believe Mr. Kelly said it was approximately $6.24 per quarter for the average property in the county. While no one wants to pay these higher fees, one advantage is we will be able to tap into some of these funds that are designated for each community. One difference that came out of the suit, which our law director pointed out to us, is in the original proposal, each city would have gotten back a 10% rebate of what was collected in their community to be used on such projects. That was now increased to 25%. So that was a positive outcome to the suit. We have a number of issues in Brooklyn prior to the injunction where the fee was not being collected anymore while it wound its way through the courts. We had already been in talks with the sewer district, and we were working with Big Creek Connects to ensure that we were going to utilize these funds in the most effective way with our community. The bottom line is it's not going to cover by a long shot everything that needs to be done, but it's going to help. Mr. Kelly did advise that he does believe that the sewer district is going to really get out in front of this and let residents know that, you know, while this fee they were collecting was suspended, in the second half of 2016, they will resume charging this fee to property owners. Ordinance 2016-2, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with civil and environmental consultants to provide consulting and other engineering services for the 2016 sanitary landfill in an amount not to exceed $44,350. This is an annual tasks that we have this consultant do for us relating to the landfill, and this includes filing our annual operating report, which we're required to do by April 1st of each year. Ordinance 2016-3, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with civil and environmental consultants to provide the engineering assistance relating to the sanitary landfill for the estimated cost of $16,267. We have an issue with some additional unanticipated runoff going into a holding area that was supposed to only contain runoff from our compost area. So this company is going to develop a plan for how we have to address it, and we are mandated to do this by the EPA. So there will be additional costs. This is just to develop the plan. And finally, ordinance 2016-4, authorizing and approving the emergency repairs and parts for the compost pond pumping lift station at the sanitary landfill from Independence Excavating in the amount of $42,130.48 as specified in their proposal. This is a repair that we've known about for a while. In fact, we already had one pump on hand. We've got a pump down there that's basically on its last legs, needs to be replaced. So while Independence Excavating is already at the site, they had been at the site working on our post-closure project. We got this bid, and they're going to be able to move forward and get that completed. We also got an update from Mr. Verba regarding our needs assessment. We had solicited requests for proposals from we had 8 firms respond, and they narrowed it down to 3, and now we have the low bidder. This is for a needs assessment on all of our facilities that the city owns. We want to get a handle on what we're facing as far as repairs, replacement in the near term, and also in the long term. So at the next meeting, we'll have this on our agenda. Mr. Verba is going to provide us with the scope of work that we're looking at, and this is probably going to be about a 4-month project. We also have our first budget meeting of 2016 scheduled for next Monday, February 1st at, I think are we at 7 or 6:45? 6:45 p.m. And I believe that completes my finance report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next, we'll move on to Recreation Board and Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. The Rec Center has monthly and yearly passes on special for the month of January. Buy a monthly pass, get 2 weeks free. Buy a yearly pass, get 2 months free. The Rec Center is also offering free Get Fit classes January 25th through the 31st. There are 30-plus exercise classes being offered. Bonus Saturday include Jazzercise 9 o'clock, Silver Sneaker at 10:30, Splash Class in the Shallow Water 11:30, Chronic Joint Pain Seminar 12:30, Jazzercise at 2, Chronic Joint Pain Seminar at 4. Bonus Sunday includes Splash Class in the Shallow Water 10:30, Jazzercise at 12, Basic Flow Yoga at 1:30, Jazzercise again at 3:30. Weekly class schedules are available at the front desk. For more information, please call the Rec Center at 216-351-5334. The next Rec Board meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 9th, 2016, in the Rec Center Meeting Room at 7 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tansky. Next is the Board of Zoning Appeals, Commissioner Kolsar.
Thank you. The Board of Zoning Appeals met on January 21st to hear a request from Agile Sign and Light Maintenance Incorporated for a setback variance of 5 feet from the sidewalk to leading edge of sign. Sign maximum height variance of 3 feet 2 inches for a freestanding illuminated sign with full color message center for business identification of Cleveland Bible Baptist Church, located at 4431 Tiedemann Road, parcel 432-08-010. This was approved on December 16th Planning Commission meeting, contingent upon the variances, which were approved. The second request was deferred. This was a request from David Sternberg of 5 Star Media, LLC, to erect a 14 by 48 foot double-face billboard sign with lighting located at 5111 Tiedemann Road, permanent parcel 433-11-003. This was denied by the Planning Commission. The request is an appeal to that decision. This will be deferred to the next meeting. And thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kolsar. Next, we'll move on to the Planning Commission. Back over to Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. The next Planning Commission meeting is Thursday, February 4th, 2016, at 6 p.m. in the Brooklyn City Hall Conference Room. There are 2 items on our agenda. A request from Richard Plaga of Granger Body Company to install a 40-square-foot wall-mounted aluminum sign with vinyl letters for business identification of Granger Body Company, located at 10904 Brook Park Road, permanent parcel number 433-16-012. Request from Mo Hatab of Golden Pyramid International for a wall-mounted illuminated sign panel change and added window signage for business identification of Golden Pyramid International, located at 7467 Memphis Avenue, permanent parcel number 432-25-004. Any other business that may come before the Planning Commission. All individuals may attend the City of Brooklyn Planning Commission meeting and have the right to comment either in person at the meeting or in writing to City of Brooklyn Planning Commission, 7619 Memphis Avenue, Brooklyn, Ohio, 44144. That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next, we'll move on to the reports of council. And tonight, we begin with Councilman DeMarco.
I would just like to make a couple comments regarding economic development. It's something I've kind of talked about since I've been on council. I did propose ordinance 2015-77, which establishes the full-time position of Economic Development Director. And Mr. Udris, welcome, first of all. And again, this is just an opinion of mine. Our efforts in terms of economic development have been lackluster since I've been on council, so I look forward to working with you, and anything I can do to help you out, certainly let me know. And when I think about economic development, I don't just think about anything related to the American Greetings property. We have other areas of the city that certainly need attention as well. And I'd also like to see a residential component to our economic development efforts. So anything you need from me, just give me a shout. And I would also like to personally welcome Deb Tomusko to City Council. I look forward to working with you, and as I offered to Ms. Politsky, anything that I can do to help bring you up to speed quicker, let me know, and I'd be happy to do it. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarco. Next up is the new councilmember, Deb Tomusko.
Well, I have no report since I'm brand new, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to say how grateful I am for this opportunity to serve the city of Brooklyn. I really look forward to working with the fellow council people as a group together, and working with the new administration, and also with the department heads, because fundamentally, you guys are the guys that touch the residents. It's, did they pick up my trash? Did they respond to this call? So I really look forward to just all of us working together to make Brooklyn the absolute best city that it can be, which fundamentally is why we're all here, is to make Brooklyn the best that it can be. So thank you, and feel free, once I get my email working and all that good stuff, feel free to give me a call and let me know what your thoughts are.
Thank you, Ms. Tomusko. Next up is Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. I'd like to announce that the Brooklyn Community Improvement Corporation annual meeting is Monday, February 1st at 6 p.m. in the conference room here at City Hall, and that is a meeting that is open to the public. Safe Routes to School Committee meets tomorrow morning, Tuesday, January 26th at 7:30 a.m. at the Brooklyn Elementary School. Just to save the date, the Greater Cleveland Trails and Greenways 2016 conference is Thursday, June 2nd from 8:30 to 5:30 at the Brecksville Human Services Center. I'm sure we'll probably put a link up on our website to that for anyone who's interested. I too would like to congratulate and welcome our newest member of council, Ms. Debbie Tomusko. I'm looking forward to working with you, and anything I can do to help bring you up to speed, just give me a call. Debbie really brings extensive experience in strategic planning, economic development, lean management principles. I think she's going to be able to use her very broad expertise to help our community. And I just would like to say thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
I would also like to thank Mr. Selhertz for his service. And the next meeting, I'd like to make sure that we have a resolution thanking him for his service to our community. Congratulations to Sergeant Eschweiler for the recognition of her efforts during that very serious standoff that we had in our community. I've known Sergeant Eschweiler for a long time. We've worked together on a couple different things, and she is an outstanding and dedicated officer. We are very lucky to have her. Congratulations also to Sergeant Tennefold, who, as the mayor mentioned, he was the lead detective on the case to bring that our missing young lady home. I know our police department, we said this before, they were working this 24/7, and it was Sergeant Tennefold that led that effort. So congratulations to him on that recognition. Also, I'd like to welcome Mr. Udris. I'm looking forward to working with you. Welcome to our community. And I believe that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next up is Councilwoman Belbier.
Thank you. I too would like to welcome Mr. Udris. At first, when I found out that he had something to do with the Hofbräu House and restaurants, I knew he was going to be a hard worker. So we welcome you. We look forward to working with you. And not only being ethnic, being ethnic too, this should be interesting. So welcome aboard. Also, I'd like to welcome Debbie. Debbie's always kind-hearted, very spirited, and I think she's going to do a great job on city council, and it'll be wonderful. Thanks, Debbie, for accepting. I'd also like to thank our police force. We are so lucky to have the most fabulous police force. Their response time is amazing. I know personally with Cindy Eschweiler, my husband worked with her, and said she was always Johnny on the spot, extremely efficient. For a woman, he would say, she's just so tough and she's just so down to earth and so on point there. So welcome, for her resolution. I'm so happy she got this. She needed it. She didn't really want it. You can tell she's a sincere person. She's just doing her job and what she's supposed to do, which I think is wonderful. I'd also like to send out a special condolences to somebody that's in our community. Father John, who is the Orthodox priest from St. Theodosius Church. If you ever make a trip to Tremont and you're riding on 490 coming off on West 7th Street, you'll see the Greek Orthodox Church. It has 3 big mushroom-style domes. Well, Father John is the pastor there, but they're also in connection with Ridge Park Manor. That is their catering hall, and now it's Augustino's under the name. But Father had a terrible tragedy this past week. He lost his son. He had a 35-year-old son. I know he worked in the catering business there, and I know it's so devastating to him, and I just would like everyone to keep him in their thoughts and in their prayers. I knew Father for a long time. He was a big supporter of my restaurant. Many times he would come in with the Russian Orthodox priests that were in full cassocks with hats and long beards and, just amazing kind of guys, but wonderful men. And it always seemed that their Christmas was different, their Orthodox Christmas was different than ours, so they were able to celebrate at our place. So special condolences to him, and that pretty much concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Belbier. Next up is Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. I also would like to welcome Debbie Tomasco on council. Also want to recognize Cindy Eschweiler and the rest of the Brooklyn Police Department for disarming a very bad situation in Brooklyn. Also want to recognize Andy Selhertz for his dedication and service on council. Also want to give a big hand and applause to Mr. Uterus taking on the economic development and being part of the team. And also I've been working on the landfill and what we can do with that empty space. I've been in contact with Mike Foley, which is now the director of the sustainability in the county, and also with Marcy Captor's front office, trying to find out what we can do as far as grants and what we can do with a space that we cannot use. Mike Foley responded to me with an email, which is a start. Kevin, I've been thinking about this lot and drove by the site today. Who owns the site? Does the city? Do you have any environmental reports on it? I'm assuming you guys are serviced by CEI First Energy, but it's so close to the Cleveland border. I'm wondering how far or much it would take to tap into CPP lines who are much better about solar. It seems like a great site for solar. No trees, relatively flat, lots of land. Let's figure this out. Thanks, Mike. So I'm going back and forth with emails, and I'm going to get our Mayor Katie Gallagher involved, set up a meeting between Mike Foley, myself, and you. And then after that, I'm going to move this to the Sustainability Committee. And Marcy Captor is also looking into grants. So hopefully down the line when something pops that will help our city with this land, it would be, I guess, a very great deal to the city. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tansky. Next up is Ms. Politsky.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Debbie. I can't offer you any advice because I'm as new as you, so we'll try this together. But yes, Tony is a good resource. I'd like to welcome Mr. Udris. I met him and talked to him in the hall one day, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do for our city. And most of all, I would like to thank Andy for all that he's done for this city. I know what he's done at the Historical Society. I know so many things that he has done. I wish we could all be on council together, but unfortunately, we can only have 7. But thank you so much, Andy, for your service. I have a little report that may or may not mean anything to anybody, but I'm going to read it, and if you can pass this information along to any relative that you have that might be concerned, I may give this also to the senior center so they're aware of it. A relative I take care of received a letter from the Department of Health and Human Services about an important tax form called 1095B. It states that since the Affordable Care Act requires people to have health insurance that meets certain standards, individuals under the age of 65 who had Part A of Medicare in 2015 must file this form on their federal income tax return. My problem was that this relative has limited income and that has not filed a tax return form for several years. I called Marcy Kapter's office. They were not aware of the letter, but they read it online, contacted the Department of Health and Human Services, and were told that if individuals' incomes has not required them to file this form in the past, they would not have to file just to complete Form 1095B. The letter from Human Services never explained it that way. Ms. Kapter's office suggested that a follow-up letter be sent to clarify this issue. Remember, this only applies to Medicare beneficiaries who are on disability and under 65 years old. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Politsky, for the information. A couple of weeks ago, I had the privilege of visiting Keystone Tailoring, which is the formerly Hugo Boss plant over on Tiedemann Road, with the mayor to present Ken Ragland with an economic development check that was promised by the city. I'm sure the mayor will talk more about the details, but exciting things are happening up at Keystone Tailoring, and we're very blessed to have them there. That really was a unique situation, how they were able to kind of come in and just pick up where Hugo Boss left off, and the people there were able to keep their employment after a couple of month hiatus there to transition things over. They're hiring people. A lot of exciting things going on up there, so we're very blessed to have them, and it truly was our privilege to be up there. With that being said, we will now move on to the mayor's report. Mayor?
Thank you. I'd like to echo a couple things. Welcome, Deb, to City Council. I look forward to working with you. I'd also like to just talk a little bit about Andy Udress, the new Economic Development Director. He comes to us with over 40 years of experience. He worked for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in Washington, D.C., worked for the City of Cleveland Economic Development Department, Grubb & Ellis Real Estate, the City of Cincinnati as their Economic Development Director, Kansas City, Fort Wayne, and now he's here with us. He's also a lecturer for graduate students down at Cleveland State University and also the president and CEO of the Cincinnati Restaurant Group. So I think we're lucky to have you, Andy, and I'm glad that you joined our team, and I look forward to all the things you're going to do for the city. Interestingly enough, Mr. DeMarco brought up the housing component, and Mr. Udress was the only person in all the interviews to bring that issue up. And it actually one of those things that I feel is missing in the city. And I know you've already started to work with Dave on certain issues, so I'm looking forward to what you can tackle there. Our post-closure landfill estimates came in. We're going to owe about $2,614,000 over the next 30 years. That amounts to about $87,000 a year. So although we're going to officially be closed, we do have all of these expenses that we're going to have to pay for. A lot of this is already set aside in our landfill closure fund, but hopefully that will cover everything. But this is just an estimate, so hopefully that stays on. We're estimating about $100,000, so this is a little bit less. I will be doing a State of the City on February 15th for the Democratic Club at 7 p.m. in the Senior Center. All are welcome. And then again on February 18th at the Westbrook Apartments. This is hosted by the Chamber. This is part of the lunch. And if you're interested in going, you'll have to sign in at the Chamber's website. Also, I'd like to thank Andy Selhertz for your service on City Council. Everybody's already repeated all the great things you've done. I know that we've already talked about a resolution, and it's not something that you want, but I do want to thank you formally for everything you've done. And lastly, I do have a law director choice in front of City Council tonight to to go into executive session. I do want to publicly thank Mr. Tim Dobek from the City of Parma. He's the elected law director out there, and our interim law director and the law director in North Royalton, Tom Kelly, who went through this entire process with me. The 22 candidates reviewed all the resumes, narrowed it down for interviews, and ultimately helped me select who I think is the best candidate. And hopefully council agrees with me this evening. And that's it. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mayor.
Excuse me, may I be recognized? Mr. Verba, just talking about the landfill, I mean, over the years, there's been a lot of ideas kicked around, and I know solar has come up even well before we were even certain that we were going to have to close the landfill. But isn't there a pretty lengthy period where we're not allowed to do anything at all?
Yeah, there are certain stipulations that you might be able to get things done sooner. I will contact CEC tomorrow and go over that with them.
Okay.
I know we had talked when we were walking the landfill that solar wasn't a real good idea down there. If there was any sustainability idea, it would have to be probably wind. But again, that's something that that they can advise us on as well.
Okay, I think while we have them on board, it would be a good idea to get some specific information from them as far as exactly what this lengthy waiting period is.
The rules are quite lengthy, and it's almost like a book in itself, what we can and can't do. So we'll get them on board and start the process.
Okay, do we have that information within the city already as far as?
It's on their website.
Okay.
The EPA's website.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. We'll now move on to director's reports. We have just one this evening. It's from the man everyone's been talking about, Mr. Udress, Economic Development.
First of all, I just want to thank everyone.
If you could come up to the mic so we can get it on the internet. Thank you.
I've never been criticized for not having a voice that people cannot hear me, so. But I do want to thank everyone, particularly the council members and the mayor and the staff and the administration and many of the citizens in the audience that have helped me. And I've just been here, I think, 8 days exactly in terms of on the job, and it's been very pleasurable. It's very uplifting to be able to join your organization and actually start producing something and running right away. So I'm feeling very excited about this opportunity. I thank you very much for all the comments you made, and now it just puts a heck of a lot of pressure on me to deliver. So I will try not to disappoint you. I do want to announce that we do have the CIC, which is our Community Improvement Corporation annual meeting that the councilwoman had mentioned. That is February 3rd. We are going to be February 1st. That'll be electing our officers. That's a routine meeting and one that's required by our bylaws. Number two, we're working with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. They have their Taste of Brooklyn on February 7th at Ridge Manor Party Center, which is at 7 to 10 p.m. Please buy your tickets if you don't have any more already, so it's kind of support a fundraiser for them. We're also interviewing businesses and other members for the SWOT planning process. This is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat study that we're going to do as part of developing an economic development plan that will be used for marketing our sites and properties, as many of you have discussed that already before, and we need to do that in order we have a combined direction as to what we want to do in terms of economic development incentives and the type of businesses we want to attract to our community. And lastly, I've already been working with one developer on a property. He called us to want to bring a tenant to the city, and we worked with 3 property owners to try to see if we can advance their projects further. So we're definitely staying busy in the few days that I've been here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Udress, and again, welcome. We're glad you're here. All right, we'll now move on with, first off, we have a couple of confirmations. I'll read the letters. Dear members of council, I'm requesting council confirmation on the appointment of Mr. Ryan Kelber to the City of Brooklyn's Recreation Board. Mr. Kelber will fill the current vacant position. His term will expire on December 31st, 2017. Mr. Kelber has been a lifelong resident, a former Recreation Center employee, and baseball commissioner. Currently, he is a teacher and the athletic director at Brooklyn High School, along with being a hockey coach and the president of the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League. Mr. Kelber intends to help create greater collaboration among city and schools and the school regarding athletic programs and facilities. Thank you sincerely, Catherine A. Gallagher, Mayor.
Move to confirm Mr. Ryan Kelber to the Recreation Board.
Second.
I do have one, or never mind. I got it here. Thank you.
To confirm the appointment, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Dear City Council, I respectfully request the confirmation of Michelle Rivera to the Civil Service Commission. Mrs. Rivera is a 10-year resident of Brooklyn and a former Cleveland police officer who served 15 years on the police force and 11 of those years as a detective. She retired in good standing in August of 2010. While a police officer, Mrs. Rivera served 5 years as a union representative, making her well-versed in collective bargaining and civil service rules. Mrs. Rivera is currently employed at General Auto Insurance as a special fraud investigator. She is also very active in the Brooklyn community as the president of the Brooklyn Athletic Boosters and a member of the Recreation Board. I have advised her that if confirmed, she will need to resign from the Recreation Board. Should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you. Again, sincerely, Katie Gallagher, Mayor.
Move to confirm Michelle Rivera to the Civil Service Commission.
Second.
And this is the one I have a question on. Do we know when this term expires? It's not in there.
I think it's 2021.
Okay. Thank you.
To confirm the appointment, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Congratulations and thank you, Ryan and Michelle, for your service to our city. We'll now move on to legislation. The first ordinance, 2015-72. This is the ordinance authorizing the purchase of one 2017 Freightliner. This is the ordinance that is being held in abeyance and will stay there again until the next budget meeting. Next is ordinance 2015-77, establishing the full-time position of Economic Development Director with the City of Brooklyn, Ohio.
I'll make a motion to hold this in abeyance until we get a little bit further into our 2016 permanent budget process.
Second.
To hold in abeyance, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Next up is ordinance 2016-1, and we'll need to pass this by emergency this evening. This authorizes the mayor of the city of Brooklyn to enter into a stormwater management program service agreement with the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District for implementation of the Regional Stormwater Management Program.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
To adopt, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-2, which we also will need to pass by emergency tonight. This authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with Civil and Environmental Consultants Incorporated to provide consulting and other services for 2016 for the sanitary landfill in the amount not to exceed $44,350.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
To adopt, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ordinance 2016-3, which will also need to be passed by emergency, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Civil and Environmental Consultants Incorporated to provide engineering assistance relating to the sanitary landfill for the estimated cost of $16,267.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
To adopt, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
And finally, ordinance 2016-4. This will also need to be passed by emergency, authorizing and approving the emergency repairs and parts for the compost pond pumping lift station at the sanitary landfill from Independence Excavating in the amount of $42,130.48 as specified in their proposal.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
To adopt, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
All right, does anyone else on council or any directors have anything they need to say? Okay, then I will make a motion that we move into executive session to discuss matters of personnel relating to the law director interview. And in that council meeting will be the mayor and council. And
Our law director and Tim Dobek.
our current law director and Tim Dobek.
Second.
To adjourn to executive session, Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.